Welcome back to the Fantasy Baseball Podcast with Alec Pecado. Let's get right into it. Let's get started. Here's my player of the weekend from this weekend in Fantasy Baseball. And it is Ritchie Palacios, who on Saturday went 3 for 3 with 3 walks, a home run, 6 total bases, 2 stolen bases, 1 extra base hit, 2 runs scored, 2 runs batted in. And I'm going to say this. Until Josh Lowe comes back, I would highly advise that you add, and I'll talk about it a little bit later on, but I would consider adding Ritchie Palacios and putting him in your starting lineup because he is going to get a lot of at-bats. Now here's the 5 best hitter matchups in my opinion this week. We start with the Rockies. They've got 6 games this week. 3 at the Marlins, 3 at the Pirates. And for me, the matchup I'm exploiting the most, and I know I pick on this team all the time, it is the Marlins. That matchup screams points galore to me. Points. On top of points, on top of points. If you have any Rockies or there's any Rockies available on your waiver wire, pick them up and stream them the entire week. Number 4 hitter matchup I like is the Boston Red Sox 6-game week. 3 versus the Giants, 3 at the Twins. Now, this one I like the Twins matchup a lot. The Twins have struggled with the Twins pitching rotation. Their rotation struggled, and I think the Red Sox can take advantage of that. I don't mind them against the Giants at home, but I would take those matchups, that 3-game set against the Twins, and run with it. Number 3 hitter matchup I like this week is the Blue Jays, 6-game week. As you notice, all these teams on here have 6 games this week. The Blue Jays are next. 3 at home against the Royals, 3 at the Nationals. Now, I'm going to say this. The Nationals, I have them on here again, but it's on the other side with another team. The Nationals, to me, they're no pushovers. Their pitching rotation is nothing to play around with. But I think the Blue Jays can exploit that with Vladdy, Bo Bichette, Dalton Varsho, Davis Snyder, Addison Barger, Danny Jansen, Alejandro Kirk, Calvin Biggio, George Springer. Any host of those guys, I think they can exploit that Nationals pitching staff. And then the Royals, that's the one I'm a little worried about because the Royals pitching staff isn't something to scoff at. And that 3-game set starts tonight. Number 2 hitter matchup I like this week is the Cardinals. 3 at the Tigers, 3 versus the White Sox. I absolutely like that White Sox matchup for the Cardinals. The White Sox, I know they just swept the Rays. Don't get it twisted. The White Sox are not good. They are not good. They are one of the worst teams in MLB. And I would take any Cardinals. If there's any Cardinals out on your waiver wire, I would pick them up for that 3-game set in Chicago at home against the White Sox. And the number 1 hitter matchups I'd like this week are the Phillies. And again, I'm picking on the Giants. 3 at the Angels, 3 at home against the Giants for Philadelphia. And with this, I know the Angels pitching staff has been good to start the year, but I think the wheels are kind of falling off. We saw it yesterday with Ray Detmers. I would absolutely take the Phillies. If there's any Phillies available on your waiver wire, I would absolutely go and add them and stream them this week. Waiver wire, and I've changed up the waiver wire a little bit. It is now going to be 2 hitters and 2 pitchers on each waiver wire to make it more compatible for everyone in fantasy baseball. So the first set of guys, number 1, Twins catcher Ryan Jeffers, 19.8% rostered. So if you need catching help, I would say yes, go out, put in a waiver claim for Ryan Jeffers, because there is some teams that probably do need catcher because you're struggling because you lost Sean Murphy. And I don't blame you. I had Murphy in a league and I had to drop him because I did not have an IL spot. And I've been struggling to find a catcher to play. So I would go out and add Ryan Jeffers. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Slade Ciccone. Diamondback starting pitcher, 2.3% rostered. He is going to stick around for a minute for the Diamondbacks. He is not going down to the minors. I would feel very confident in adding Slade Ciccone to my roster. Like I said, 2.3% rostered. Next one is Mets starting pitcher Jose Butto. And their manager, Carlos Mendoza, came out and announced the other day that Butto will be sticking around for the foreseeable future in the Mets rotation. 13.2% rostered. I think you need to double that roster rate, and he needs to be at least 40%. Actually, triple that. He needs to be at least 40% rostered. And his outfielder, Tyler Freeman. Tyler Freeman's starting to figure some stuff out. And I think that Tyler Freeman is in for a big rest of season. Patience meter. We've got 3 guys on the patience meter. One of them's a rookie, and one of them has been off to a really hot start, but he's cooled down. We're going to start with Zach Eflin of the Tampa Bay Rays. My patience meter with him, patience level with him is a 3, which means he's good. Do not drop him. 10 means drop him in all formats, but he's at a 3. Eflin's had a bad last couple of starts, but I think he could turn it around. And he can fix the mistakes he's been making. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does. Number 2 on the list is Matt Mervis. Now, Matt Mervis is a young guy. I know he's striking out a lot. He's a 1 out of 10 on the patience meter for me. I would be cautious where you drop Matt Mervis. Because what if Matt Mervis turns this around and has a big next few weeks and ends up sticking around the rest of the season and you dropped him and somebody else in your league added him? That could look bad on your part. That could look bad on you. And you don't want that. And then the last guy is Mike Trout. Yes, I know he has 10 home runs, but if you look at his batting average right now, he's batting .227. He was raking to start out the season. He's a 1 out of 10. Don't even think about the idea of dropping Mike Trout. If you do, then I don't know what to do. Because Mike Trout is not somebody you drop. Worst hitter matchups. The number 5 worst hitter matchup for me is the Rays. They've got 6 games this week, 3 at the Brewers, 3 at home against the Mets. And that series with the Brewers starts tonight. I don't like these matchups at all for the Rays. There's only a few guys I would start for the Rays, and I talked about one of them earlier, that being Ritchie Palacios. I would start Palacios. I would start Caballero. I would start Yandy Diaz, even though he's struggling. And I might add a bonus waiver wire guy in a minute after we get through this. The number 4 hitter matchups I don't like this week out of 5. So that was 5. Here's 4. The Braves. Look at those hitting matchups this week. They've got 3 at the Mariners, 3 at the Dodgers. And if the Mariners pitching staff is going to pitch the way they've been pitching the last 2 weeks, I don't want anything to do with any Braves off the waiver wire. Now, you're going to have to start Austin Riley. You're going to have to start Ozzie Albies. You're going to have to start Matt Olson. You're going to have to start Acuna and Michael Harris. But if you were thinking about streaming guys off the waiver wire for the Braves, I would not do it. The number 3 hitter matchup I do not like this week is the Diamondbacks. And you look at their schedule, same thing. They've got 3 games. They've got 3 versus. The only difference with them is their games are at home. They've got 3 versus the Dodgers, 3 versus the Padres. And I'm doing anything I can to avoid any guys on the waiver wire that are Diamondbacks. Whether it be, unless you need steals. I mean, maybe Jake McCarthy. But other than that, I would steer clear of any Diamondbacks. Number 2 hitter matchups I don't like this week are the Cubs. They've got 4 at the Mets, 3 at home against Milwaukee. And like I said about the Rays, I don't like that matchup for the Cubs at home against Milwaukee, even though it's a 3-game set. I don't like that matchup. In the number 1 hitter matchups I don't like this week are the 6-game week, 3 at home against the Nationals, and 3 at the Royals. Now, you saw the Nationals earlier on the other side on hitter matchups I do like. The reason I have them over here on the do not like side for the Rangers is because if you look at that second matchup, the Royals, I don't mind the matchup against the Nationals. I do not like that Royals matchup. 3 games at Kansas City for Texas. Steer clear. Waiver wire part 2. Hitters under 80% rostered. Hitters / pitchers under 80% rostered. We start with Giants outfielder Michael Conforto. 47. I'm going to run that up and say 47% rostered. Because technically he kind of is 47% rostered. If you need outfield help, I would go and add Michael Conforto of the Giants. And I would feel fine with starting him, actually. Next, you've got National starting pitcher Mitchell Parker, 20.5% rostered. With Parker, I would add him, but I think he's a matchups guy, which means in a good matchup you can start him. But if he's going up against like the Dodgers or one of the better teams in baseball, I would sit him on the bench. Next is Red Sox outfielder Willie R. Abreu, 16.8% rostered. And Abreu is a guy that it seems like he might be playing every day right now because Tyler O'Neill's out. And I wouldn't mind putting in like 5% of my fab on Wilyer Abreu. And the last guy is Cubs starting pitcher Ben Brown, 2.3% rostered. Now, a little slight update on this. I would add Ben Brown, but I'd be cautious because it sounds like the update on Justin Steele is he's going to make one rehab start, at least one rehab start at AAA. And then if all goes well, he should be back next week for the Cubs. And there's two guys that I'm going to talk about right here in the waiver wire, even though they're not on there. That is Curtis Mead from the Tampa Bay Rays and Taj Bradley of the Rays. They're both very low rostered, and it sounds like Taj Bradley might be back at the beginning of. He's going to be back at the beginning of May, and then Curtis Mead. Everybody wanted to write him off and not pay attention to him at all. I think it's a solid waiver wire ad. And the other thing I'm going to talk about before we get into MLB preview is a couple other waiver wire guys that I would consider adding. One being Joe Adele from the Angels. 3 home runs, 5 stolen bases, and he's only struck out 21% of the time. And I would consider adding him over guys like Joey. The Astros are calling up one of their top prospects, infielder / outfielder Joey Loperfio. But if you want to pick up Loperfio, you can. But I would advise against sticking Loperfio right in my lineup. I would stash him on the bench to see what he is, how much playing time he's going to get. And I'm going to give you 3 guys that I would feel more comfortable with adding over Loperfio. One is Joe Adele, like I just talked about a second ago. He's only striking out 21% of the time. 3 home runs, 5 stolen bases. And the key with him is he's playing every day. It seems like he's starting to figure it out. Number 2, Ritchie Palacios, the guy you see in the thumbnail. He was my player of the weekend. And until Josh Lowe comes back, he's going to get a lot of playing time in the outfield, particularly in right field. I know the defense has subbed him out yesterday because the Rosarena pinch hit, but I think Palacios is a good waiver wire ad. And then the last one is Ceddanne Rafaela of the Red Sox. I think he's a good waiver wire ad because he gives you positional flexibility. He can play center field. He's an outfielder, but he can also play shortstop. So if you don't want to put him in the outfield to block one of your other outfielders from playing, then you could pick up Rafaela and put him in at shortstop unless you have a top-notch shortstop. And now let's get to the second half of the show and talk about the MLB preview for Monday. Here's your MLB preview for Monday. Oh, hold up. That's not the one I wanted. Hold up. I think this is it. Yep. Okay. Sorry about that. We had the wrong one up. Now we got the right one. So, MLB preview for Monday. We've got 5 games that I'm giving you a score prediction for. The first one is the Yankees and Orioles at 6:35. I think this is going to be a really good game tonight for the Orioles, for both teams, the Orioles and Yankees. But I think the Yankees are going to win this game 4-3 with a walk-off home run by a guy I'm going to talk about in a minute, Aaron Judge. The Cardinals and Tigers play at 6:40 tonight, and I have the Tigers winning 4-2. I think Torkelson and Riley Green are starting to figure it out, and I think they're going to have good games as well. The Nationals and Marlins wrap up their 4-game set, which it's weird how they had their schedule set up. So I think the Nationals win this game. I think the Nationals beat Miami 5-1. The Nationals came back from 7-0 down and went 12-9 yesterday. And I told you the Marlins are one of the worst teams in baseball. Worst with a capital W. Worst. Next game is the Royals and Blue Jays. And I think the Royals win this game 4-1 over the Blue Jays. And a little heads up in this game. There is a major league debut being made tonight. It is Royals starting pitcher Jonathan Bolin. That is Bowlan. Bolin. Jonathan Bolin is making his major league debut for the Royals tonight. And I think the Royals do win in his major league debut 4-1. And now we got the Brewers and Rays at 7:40. I think the Rays, they just got swept by the White Sox, which is tremendously awful. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute here after we get done with this portion of the show. I think the Rays do win 4-1, or it could be a lot worse. The Yankees put up 15 runs twice on Milwaukee. So I can see the Rays maybe doing that tonight and putting the beats on the Brewers after getting swept by Chicago, by the White Sox, possibly. I hope. Struggling hitters and pitchers. This is going to be my favorite segment to do, because hopefully I talk about these guys and then they start to turn it around. We're going to start with the pitchers first. Rays, and you see two guys from the Rays on here. Randy Arozarena and Aaron Civale. We're going to talk about Aaron Civale first. Okay, so with Civale, I like how he started the year off. He had a sub-2 ERA. What happened? He's fallen off, for me, he's fallen off a cliff the first month. I know we're only about a month into the season. I think Civale could turn it around, and here's how I think he could turn it around. Using his secondary pitches more. That is how I think Civale could turn around this little slump he's going through just after the good start to the season he had. And I think he needs to start using that slider. That needs to be his primary pitch. I think if he starts using his slider as his primary pitch, he's going to have a lot more success. Number 2 is Astros Hunter Brown. He's got a 9.68 ERA. And tell me that's horrible without telling me that's a horrible ERA. That is one of the worst ERAs among starting pitchers in baseball. And I think the way he turns it around is he lowers the number of pitches he throws per inning. And he uses his secondary pitches more. If he uses the secondary pitches more, I think that Hunter Brown can turn this struggling start around. And the last one is Ryan Feltner. He's got a 5.68 ERA. Now, he had a couple good starts early on in the season, but his issue is he plays at Coors Field. And Coors Field is where you go as a pitcher to rotten, in my opinion. There's other places you could go to rotten as a pitcher, but number one on that list is Coors Field. And that's where, unfortunately, where Ryan Feltner pitches. And I don't really see I don't really see an avenue where he can have less than a 4 ERA. I think a low 4 ERA going forward for Ryan Feltner is the best thing you're going to get. Now we get to some struggling hitters. And the first one is Randy Arozarena. It looked like for a second Arozarena of the Rays, it looked like Randy was kind of breaking out of this little mini slide he's been in. But I see a way he can break out of the slide permanently and help you in fantasy baseball and help the Rays in real life win games. He needs to stop. I'm going to give you two things I think he needs to change. He needs to simplify his swing. He needs to take a page out of Harold Ramirez's book. I'll give you 2 strikes. And then once you get to 2 strikes, I'm going to start fouling off pitches, and not letting you take advantage of me and getting me to swing at pitches outside the strike zone. That's the first thing. And 2, don't swing for the fences all the time. If there's a pitch you feel like you can hit over the fence, then yes, have at it. Swing for the fences. But if there's not a pitch you can't hit over the fence, try to get a base hit the other way or shorten up your swing and bunt. Number 2, guarded shortstop Brian Raquel. He is batting 197 so far on the season. And again, hopefully talking about these guys, they maybe watch the show and they see that I'm trying to spark them. But Brian Raquel, I think what he needs to do is the same thing Arozarena needs to do. Don't swing for the fences all the time. And simplify your swing. Make some adjustments with your swing, and that might help you bring up that batting average and get on base more. And the last guy is Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees. He is batting 190. This is not the Aaron Judge we know. The Aaron Judge we know is the guy that hits home runs and takes away base hits. And Judge is struggling right now. And what I've noticed with Judge is his swing path. He needs to and I've talked about this with the other 2 guys. Judge needs to shorten up his swing. If they're going to give you a pitch to hit, take it. But if they're not going to give you a pitch to hit, take the approach of one of your fellow AL East rival hitters in Harold Ramirez. I'll give you 2 strikes, and then I'm going to start battling. I'm not going to let you strike me out easily. I'm going to take a few pitches before I strike out, or before I get a base hit, or draw a walk. And if you do that, I think you could turn around this batting average that you have. And now we're going to talk about all the injuries. Actually, no, we're going to talk about the Rays. So, it was a pitcher's duel throughout the first 4 innings of the game. And then the Rays finally got on the board in the 5th inning on a home run by Isaac Paredes. Let me get the review. I did a full on. Okay. So at the top of the fifth, Paredes hit a home run, his 7th of the year, to make it 1-0. And then Austin Shinton doubled. Meade flew out. And Siri grounded out to first base. So we go to the bottom of the fifth. To start the bottom of the fifth, Gavin Sheets. To start the bottom of the fifth, Gavin Sheets singled to start the bottom of the fifth. Braden Shoemake doubled to right field. Nicky Lopez sacrificed him over to third. Tommy Pham flew out. Oh, wait, no, we were in the bottom of the fourth. Correction. So bottom of the fourth. Pham flew out to start the bottom of the fourth, and then Sheets singled, Jimenez singled, Benintendi struck out, Grossman singled, RBI single, so it was tied at 1. And then Danny Mendick RBI single made it 2-1. And then Corey Lee grounded out 6-3. So that's shortstop to first base. So we go to the top of the fifth. Rene Pinto flied out to right field. Yandy Diaz struck out. Ritchie Palacios flied out. So we go to the bottom of the fifth. Braden Shoemake doubled to right field. Nicky Lopez sacrificed him over to third. 1-3. So that's pitcher to the first baseman. Tommy Pham grounded out to third base. Gavin Sheets grounded out. So we go to the top of the sixth. Ahmed Rosario struck out. Paredes flew out to left field. And Ramirez grounded out to second base. So now we go to the bottom of the sixth inning. Eloy Jimenez singled to left field. Benintendi struck out. Robbie Grossman struck out. And Danny Mendick flied out to center. So top of the seventh. Shinton lined out to left field. Meade struck out. Siri struck out. So we go to the bottom of the seventh. Manuel Rodriguez came in for Zach Littell. Corey Lee flies out. Braden Shoemake grounds out. And Nicky Lopez flies out to left. So we go to the bottom of the seventh inning. Bottom 7. Oh no, we go to the top of the 8th. Top 8. Rosarena flies out to left field. He pinch hit. Yandy Diaz flies out to the left field. And Ritchie Palacios strikes out. So we go to the bottom of the 8th. Tommy Pham singles to second base. Ritchie Palacios strikes out. Oh, wait, no. Yandy Diaz flew out to second base. And then Ritchie Palacios struck out. Bottom of the 8th. Tommy Pham singles to second base. Gavin Sheets singles to center. Eloy singles to right. Eloy singles. Benintendi, a 2-run single, makes it 4-1. And then it is Rafael Ortega struck out. Erasmo Ramirez replaced Manuel Rodriguez. Danny Mendick grounded to a double play, 6-4-3. So we go to the top of the ninth. And Rosario flies out to right field to start the top of the ninth. Isaac Paredes singled to right field. Harold Ramirez RBI double made it 4-2. Jordan Leisure replaces Eric Fetty. Austin Shitten flies out for the second out of the inning. And then to end the game, Curtis Mead grounded out to third base. So the Rays ended up losing 4-2 yesterday. And what I've noticed is the bullpen's a little shaky. And until they get all the bullpen guys back, it's going to be by committee to determine who gets the saves, who comes in high leverage. The two bright spots I take away from the Rays game yesterday was Austin Shenton, who, hearing from the broadcast, he's going to get a little bit more playing time going forward until Jonathan Aranda comes back. And then Manny Rodriguez, his first inning with the Rays, he went an inning and 2/3, an inning and a third. That first inning, he had a clean inning. I think the Rays should have taken him out after that and not left him in the game. I think they should have taken him out and relieved him with Erasmo Ramirez or somebody else instead of leaving him in. That's just me. I don't know what. I want to know what y'all have to say down below in the comments. Let me know what you think of the Rays so far this year or your favorite baseball team down below in the comment section. And we do offer channel memberships for this YouTube channel. And I would absolutely appreciate if you purchased a channel membership or some merch. But I think that's going to do it for the second episode of the baseball podcast. I will see y'all tonight with a special video. Leave you there. You're going to have to come back tonight at 10 o'clock to see that video. But for the baseball podcast, this is Alec Peccato signing off. Peace.